We're surrounded by stories. Today, more than ever, we have constant access to storytelling, to films, to libraries at your fingertips, more than any generation in history has ever had. Yet despite this endless access, I meet founders and business leaders all the time who struggle with a fundamental question. At its core, what is a story? Really? They ask me this because they know they need one, they know their company has a story, and they feel like they should be able to articulate it, but they don't know how to tell it. Is it just a sequence of events, a list of happenings strung together? For most people, crafting a story feels like a mysterious black box, something that materializes through luck rather than process. But what if it's not all that mysterious at all? What if there's actually a repeatable process that delivers consistently compelling stories? That's what I want to talk about today. Welcome to Decoded, an ongoing series where we demystify story in film. My name is Joe Hebers. I'm a filmmaker and the founder of Passenger. So what is a story? Let's start with the simplest definition possible. At its core, a story is simply a person or group of people who want something and have to overcome obstacles to achieve it. And in that process, they change. That's it. So when you think about your own story or your organization's story, ask the same question. What did we or do we want? What obstacles did we have to overcome to achieve it? Now, if that's the 30,000-foot view, then how do you drill down deeper? How do you find the ups and downs, the tension, the twists and turns, the satisfying conclusion that all great stories deliver? And that's where the story circle comes in. At Passenger, we use something called the story circle. It was developed by Dan Harmon, the creator of Community and Rick and Morty. And it's essentially a refined version of the hero's journey, the narrative framework created by mythologist Joseph Campbell. The story circle walks your character through 8 steps that result in a compelling and resonant journey. And what's really interesting about this is that it's not theory, it's a practical framework, and it works because it's built around how humans actually respond to stories. Let me walk you through each step. Step 1 is simple. Who are we talking about? This is where you establish your protagonist before they embarked on their journey. What were they like? What was their comfort zone? And what did the world look like from their perspective? Now, for a founder story, this might be, I was working a corporate job, I had stability, a 401k, but something was missing. The goal here is to make your audience understand who this person was before the transformation. And don't skip this step. A lot of stories do. They want to jump straight to the action, the dramatic moment, the thing that changed everything. But if your audience doesn't understand who your protagonist was before, they can't appreciate how far they've traveled, and they won't understand the magnitude of that change. Step 2, what do they want? Here's where a lot of filmmakers get stuck. They think the want is just the surface goal, or the practical goal. Like, I wanted to start a business. I wanted to grow revenue. I wanted to reach profitability. And that's true, those are wants, but that's not the story. We have to go deeper. What did they want emotionally? Were they seeking acceptance, independence, the chance to prove something? Were they running from fear, or maybe even running towards hope? The most powerful stories operate on both the practical and the emotional level. A founder's deeper want might be, I wanted to build something that mattered. I wanted to prove I could do it, or even I wanted to be acknowledged for it. You see the difference? One is a business goal, the other is the actual emotional goal. And that's what stays with people. That's what makes them feel something, a connection to something that they see in themselves. Step 3 is called go. It's the door of no return. What was the action? The first real step out of the ordinary. This is the moment when your protagonist commits. It's a decision that can't be undone. It's the point of no return. Maybe they quit their job, or took out a loan, or moved to another country. Or maybe the go was forced upon them, like a diagnosis, a layoff, or even the loss of a loved one. The key is that go must be clearly defined. It has to be concrete. It can't be abstract. It can't be, I decided to become an entrepreneur. It has to be, I resigned from my job on Tuesday. That specificity matters because it's details that make it real. Step 4 is the search. How do they navigate this new world they've entered? And this is where your character tries different tactics, experiments, and explores. But we have to be careful here, because we don't want this to become a list of and then moments. Like, I did this, and then I did that, and then I did another thing, and on and on. because nothing kills story momentum faster than seemingly disconnected events randomly strung together. Instead, frame this section as cause and effect. This happened, therefore I tried this. But that backfired, so I pivoted and tried this approach. That worked, but it revealed a new problem, so I had to try this, and on and on. See the difference? Now each attempt shapes the next, and this creates narrative momentum. It shows how one decision leads to another, how failure teaches you something that success can build upon. Step 5 is called the find, and this is the most pivotal step. At this point, your protagonist achieves their goal, but it wasn't what they expected. The business succeeds, the revenue scales, the recognition comes. But then they realize, this isn't what I thought it would feel like. A founder might say, I built a company worth $100 million. I achieved everything I set out to do, but I wasn't happy. I wasn't fulfilled in the way that I thought I'd be. The find is the moment of realization that what they wanted wasn't actually what they needed. And that realization triggers a deeper question. What was I actually looking for all along? This step requires vulnerability and admitting that success looked different than they expected. And many founders resist this step because it requires honesty about doubt and the gap between expectation and reality. But it's precisely this vulnerability that makes a story resonate. Without it, you don't have a story, but something more akin to a resume. Step 6, what did this cost them? For a story to land with power, there has to be a heavy price. Not just in terms of money or time, but in real, tangible sacrifices. Maybe they achieved their business success but lost their marriage. Maybe they scaled rapidly but burned out completely. Maybe they proved something to the world but lost themselves in the process. Skip this step, and the resolution that follows loses its power. You essentially rob yourself of the catharsis that comes at the end. People need to feel the weight. They need to understand the cost. It's only then that the transformation matters. Step 7 is the return. After discovering what they really needed and paying a heavy price for it, the protagonist begins a return to their normal world. And this often involves a final confrontation with the obstacle, the antagonist, or even with the consequences of their own actions. Keep in mind that this confrontation can be both internal and external. An internal example might be, I had to rebuild trust with my family after neglecting them for years of hustle. And an external example could look like, I had to face the investor who lost money in my failed venture. The richest stories present both dimensions, the outer challenge and the inner reckoning. Step 8 is change. The protagonist is back in their familiar world, but they're not the same person. They've changed. They have new skills, new knowledge, new perspectives, and they see things differently. They prioritize differently, and they act differently. And this is where the story completes its circle. The person who returns is no longer the person who left. And that's the transformation. That's what the whole journey was about. Now here's why we often use the story circle at Passenger. It's flexible, it's deep, and there's an elegant architecture underneath it, like how each step relates to the step opposite of it. For example, want and take mirror each other, the desire and the price. Go and return mirror each other, crossing the threshold into the unknown and coming back having changed. Likewise, search and change mirror each other. It's the journey out and the transformation back. This architecture lets you shape stories in creative ways. You can emphasize certain steps, compress others, and play with the relationships between opposite steps to trigger specific emotional effects. The main thing I want you to get from this is that effective storytelling is designed with real thought and intention. It doesn't happen by chance. It's not mysterious, it's not magic, it's not something that only naturally gifted storytellers can master. It's a craft that's learnable. And at Passenger, we're constantly exploring how to bend the rules of the story circle, how to manipulate these 8 steps to get powerful results tailored to each specific story that we tell. Because every founder story is different. Every company's journey is unique. If you can take the subject of your story through the story circle, you will have the ingredients for a compelling and powerful narrative. Clearly establish who they were, what they wanted, what action they took, how they searched, what they found, what they paid, how they returned, and who they became. And you'll have a story that resonates, a story that lasts, a story that matters. And that's the difference between a list of happenings and an actual story.